Hello, everyone. We are moderately sane, which is not always easy to be nowadays, but we are here with another banger. And today we're going to be discussing a few things, but one of the things we're going to discuss
Well, first thing we're going to discuss
is what's the first thing?
What the first thing? You were just singing a song. What was it?
I think it was Black Dog by Led Zeppelin.
Black Dog by Led Zeppelin. I love classic rock, but when I was a kid, and I love classic rock, Led Zeppelin would scare the hell out of me.
Say, hey, baby, when you walk that way, what's hot and drips can't
Can I
keep
say
away.
it? Can I say it just sounds a bit a touch rapey. Is all
Right.
I'm saying. From like, let me give you every inch of my love. Every inch of my love. How many inches? I'm 9.
Well, one more.
Anyhow, that has nothing to do with anything other than
It also sounds
trying to remain
moderately sane, yes,
in the world of political
extremism and
Okay,
and idiocy and lies.
Yes, and lies.
And just in case some of you might have thought that we were going to go super easy on Trump and the administration, and it was all about going after the left, we're going to cut back and show that we're equal opportunity critics, and we will not put up with bullshit or insanity, and we will respond very, very aggressively towards such. And we're doing so today. And our primary villain du jour would be the inimicable J.D. Vance and the alleged, I guess, MOU. Is it a peace deal or is it something unlike a peace deal?
A
memo of understanding.
But no one understands.
No one understands it.
So no one understands.
I certainly don't understand it. It's hard to understand. You don't really know what it means, and that's what. And we're going to have just a brief kind of I'm going to be kind of leading it a little bit, but then we're going to go into other things too.
Well, we know, first of all, the Democrats are going to hate it because they hate everything Trump related, although there are many things worth hating.
There's tons.
I know. Hating. I do want to just say as just one thing before we get into the whole deal is that as the Iran war started,
sure,
and kind of raged on for a few months, I was just shocked to see environmentalists. I've never imagined they would care more about gas prices.
In fact, I saw the opposite because I remember very, very vividly that when gas prices are going up, Pete Buttigieg was testifying and he said, this is a good thing because it means that people will conserve more.
Exactly. So then when the strait closed and every progressive environmentalist was gas prices. They didn't even realize this. They were basically at drill, baby, drill in Iran. But that's a side note. I didn't mean to. Sometimes I have to get on the left because they've been pissing me off because, as I explained, I felt like sort of one of them. And now I'm just feel more angry. It's like being more angry at your family because they pissed me off so much. But anyhow, let's get to without further ado.
Without too much further ado, we're just going to get into some of the issues surrounding this Iran deal. I'm going to use deal like that, like with scare quotes. And I mean scare quotes because it's kind of scary. Basically, whether you're for or against the Iran war, and many of you, I'm sure, are against it. Some of you might have thought that getting rid of the nuclear weapons capacity of Iran was still a good idea, even if they, might not have wanted to go to a full-scale war. And certainly we didn't invade. But at the very least, what we thought would happen or prayed would happen, even if we didn't want to go to war, would be that certain minimum objectives were achieved. One of which is that Iran would not have the capacity to make nuclear weapons. That's one. Another, and I'm going to go a little bit broader scope here, but another would be that Iran wouldn't have the capacity to engage. And again, this is a kind of a little bit of a, just think geographically, to engage in massive wars against countries that are not Iran. And I'm not even, and for the purposes of our initial discussion, I'm not going to mention the I word by Israel. Zip. Let's pretend Israel doesn't exist. We're going to pretend it doesn't exist. Iran has been launching proxy wars in Yemen, in Syria, in Lebanon, and in Iraq. Iraq, at least, is a border state. Lebanon, the president of Lebanon was just interviewed by Christine Amanpour and said, why is Iran funding a military force in our country? We don't want them here. Lebanon. Okay. And more than 100,000 Lebanese have been killed. Hundreds of thousands have been displaced. Hundreds of thousands have been injured because Iran thinks it's their business to engage in a military conflict in a country that has nothing to do with them. The same would apply also to the Houthis. Nothing to do with them. Yemen doesn't have a damn thing to do with Iran. It's not bordering them. It's thousands of miles away. And yet more than 400,000 have died in this war. Millions are starving or near starving. Again, and let's not forget, because it probably doesn't deserve too much notice, about 3 or 4 months ago, 40,000 Iranians or more were slaughtered in the course of about 2 weeks for the crime of demonstrating or just looking at somebody funny, murdered. Okay, so let's just establish this is a terrorist, genocidal regime. And at the very least, what we want to do is to control them so they can't keep spreading that death and destruction throughout the region. Those would be the minimums, okay, that they wouldn't be able to develop nuclear weapons, they wouldn't have ballistic missiles, and they wouldn't be able to continue to rain death and destruction amounting to millions of innocent people in the region. That would be it.
And this is a very good point because, of course, they want to rain destruction on Israel. They want it destroyed and also say death to America. But you make let's
forget about Israel.
But take that away. It is death and destruction for those out there who care very much about death and destruction and starvation
and
in
genocide.
The Middle and genocide in the Middle East, and to not be focusing on Iran as the biggest culprit by far.
Right. And again, what's in America's interest? It is actually in America's interest to not have the region constantly under attack with millions of people. Again, also in Syria, let's not forget Syria, more than 500,000, again, slaughtered, many, many more starving. It's still a basket case. And again, what's Iran's strategic interest in Syria? None. But they were, again, raining death and destruction in that region, in that country, and have. Okay. So that's sort of like the baseline, what one would expect. What does this deal seem to deliver? And I'm not going to get, and again, I could go a lot of the rhetoric is very much groper rhetoric, the rhetoric that is of people like Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, people who are not entirely, Candace Owens, people who are not entirely, not racist, not entirely not Jew-hating, not entirely ignoramuses. It's very much, he somehow got into Yale Law, God bless him, and doesn't seem to realize that Germany was actually defeated and we didn't end the war by signing a peace treaty with Hitler.
And you're speaking of J.D. Vance right now.
I am speaking of, he's the villain du jour. I think I've made that point. And he is the villain du jour. He's the idiot du jour. Because he seems to be the one who's, again, I'm not in any way absolving Trump, but Trump sort of seems to hand off things to different people. Before it was Rubio, now it is J.D. Vance. And J.D. Vance is the one fronting this peace initiative, or this MOU, alleged peace initiative. And we don't know entirely what's in it. Israel was not part of the negotiation, which again goes against the whole groper mentality, which is one of the things that, again, I'm not going to get into in detail, but it's one of the rhetorical tricks that J.D. Vance has been using, is to take every criticism of the deal and just say, well, they're just obviously Israel first, and Israel has different interests from us. Well, what are our interests? I think I just outlined what our interests were. Our interests are to make sure they don't have nuclear weapons, they don't have ballistic missiles, they don't have the ability to rain death and destruction.
And why are those in our interest?
Because that's an area where almost all the oil in the world is. And to have that area in utter chaos is not in our interest. It gives a hostile power that hates us the ability to shut off oil at any time. And that we don't want as Americans.
Isn't Russia very involved with that area too?
Well, again, Russia, another adversary that is supported and is aligned with Iran. Again, another reason why we don't want Iran to have any of these things. Iran is a strategic enemy of us. It's a strategic ally of people that are also strategic adversaries of us. So there's ample reasons why we don't want the revolutionary government in Iran to have any of these things. And based on the initial description and what we know of this deal, and again, it's been lied about, is it begins immediately with Iran having its sanctions lifted and being able to sell oil and get billions of dollars.
And I think this is embarrassing because how much has Trump gone off on the Obama deal, which did hand Iran billions, and we're not, I mean, they lie through, just trust Iran. Oh, they'll stop developing nuclear weapons.
Have to believe them.
Oh yeah, just trust them, really not have any oversight, and then just hand over billions. And this is a plan that will open up even more billions. Well, so what an utter for Trump to be like, one of his, big calling cards is like they were weak. Obama was weak. This being a central focus on the weakness of Obama. And there were a lot of problems with that. That just emboldened Iran and emboldened the proxies. There were a lot of problems with that Obama deal. And then you may as well have memes that have basically Trump with like Obama hair and ears. And
absolutely.
Because it's just shocking, the kind of embarrassing capitulation for America, supposedly the most dominant country in the world, to be basically bending over. And it's what it also, I think we're just doing it because of gas prices and the midterms. And,
right. Well, I want to just also even add to this, because I do think those are reasons. I don't think dispositive reasons, meaning that I think there are reasons on the other side. These are choices that have been made. What J.D. Vance has said specifically and said today in an interview was, we want to be in close contact with Pakistan and Qatar to make sure this deal is done correctly. These are not exactly, especially Qatar is not exactly a paragon of human rights or U.S. interests. Neither is Pakistan. These are literal, it's almost, again, I don't want to get into the name calling that Vance and others, mainly Vance, has been engaging in, which is to accuse all the critics, and most of the critics that I've read, including, including General Keane, who is, not ever mentioning Israel, is mentioning the things I'm mentioning. It's all about security in the area. The fact that, again, and this is an important point, the billions are up front, the billions that they'll be able to make. But part of the deal is also that the United States will orchestrate, we won't necessarily fund, but we'll orchestrate the funding for $300 billion for the revolutionary government of Iran. Iran has said immediately, is saying now, we're going to use this money to fund Hezbollah. They're saying it. How on earth is this the deal? Can't we rely on the much sounder political philosophy of Roseanne Barr, who said, look, we don't want forever wars and we don't want to reward a murderous terrorist regime. We have to find a better way. I agree with Roseanne. And I don't agree with Vance. What Vance has literally not he's either lied. He said, for example, it was absurd to say that we are going to provide a $300 billion slush fund, but it's in the document. He literally lied about it. And again, why the hell exclude Israel? Exclude them and exclude wonderful allies like Qatar and Pakistan.
And include them.
They're the ones who are right.
Well, there is a habit he has a habit.
Well, Trump does in this
and
case.
Trump does too, of like insulting our allies and just kissing up to our greatest adversaries. This happens again and again.
It's unfortunately a repetitive trope. I mean, we saw it with Ukraine. You know, again, you could have issues with Ukraine. You could have issues with Ukraine funding. But he seemed to be extremely much harder on Zelensky than he's ever been on Putin. And he seems to be much harder on Israel than he's ever been on Qatar, for example, for supporting Hamas and funding terrorism.
Right, and particular Vance.
And Vance is worse because what Trump never did, but Vance has been doing, is to smear people who are questioning this deal, many of whom are actually Trump supporters, and calling them Israel first. And that is, again, not so. I'm just saying there's nothing America first about this deal at all. And Vance hasn't made a case that this is America first. Not any case.
Right. It seems to be just go any criticisms of the deal go to, oh, it's about Israel first. It's about Israel first.
Absolutely.
Where it's like
deflection.
Are ostensibly the number one thing America wanted to do was ensure they don't get a nuclear weapon. Now they did do tremendous damage.
They did tremendous damage.
And have said that it would take $300 billion.
No. This is what Vance said when asked specifically, could Iran redevelop its nuclear weapons capacity? He said that would take billions. Well, I mean, did you look at the fucking deal?
Right. So any sort of putting a large part of their program, a lot of their program so behind,
right, which
is now going to be completely undone by the memo of understanding, supposed deal that's coming, if it's ever coming.
Yeah.
So that's just astonishing. Just astonishing. It's like it is like how like the left is used to they just say it just to get under Trump's skin, even though sometimes it doesn't even make sense. Right. But Trump again chickens out. I think that's what this is a taco.
Right.
The freaking chicken. If you were to go and do this, you had to be committed to doing it. And I don't mean, believe me, I'm no military expert. And I understand not wanting a forever war, of course not.
Right. Or war, period.
Or wanting ground troops. But there were other things it was also, you had to be willing to take a little pain.
By pain, and let's be clear.
And to do something about it to mitigate that.
Absolutely, including fighting for lowering gas taxes, for example. But again, not going after civilians ever. That was never. I mean, in fact, that was one of the good things, or one of the ways that this action, was actually carried out. It was carried out against military facilities with very, very few civilian casualties. And it never, ever required, or I thought at least, never justified ground troops. At some level, I realized that you wouldn't be able to achieve regime change without ground troops. But again, that's too much of a cost. But we had so many other options other than complete capitulation, which is what was chosen. Complete capitulation combined with a slavish embrace by the villain of the day, J.D. Vance, of one of the chief architects of the massacre of 40,000 Iranians just this year. He was smiling with them and talking about them being reasonable. This is literally, again, Rubio's correct. This is a terror regime. This is a level. We can make peace. We can make deals, but we can't be frigging naive. And this is a level of naivete and betrayal, really. Betrayal not of Israel, betrayal of American interests.
Well, it's not just, it is a betrayal
Of course, but
Israel.
not just.
But not just.
Not primarily.
And an embarrassment for America.
An embarrassment and a betrayal of, again, we spent treasure and our own, and our own capital, moral capital. Trump was saying to the Iranians, keep it up. We're gonna, help is coming. Again, a moral claim that we completely ratted out on. Those poor people who believed him, they're dead.
Why do you think, therefore, they're taking this tack? Is it because, okay, who is a Vance like minded person, like, okay, let the Middle East be in chaos. Let them be shooting, at not only shooting at Israel, Hezbollah, but like destroying so many.
I'm forgetting about Israel.
It's like, let them all just destroy each other. We're here in America. That's all we care about. It's not going to affect us that much.
I don't think it's, I mean, there's always that element, that strain in American political life and American political philosophy, sort of that Charles Lindbergh, sort of, Monroe Doctrine. We're just going to stick to our own shores and not get involved in foreign entanglements. I don't think that's it, though. I actually think it's something much more sinister, and that would require that I get into more of the stuff that I think that Vance is signaling in his own conversations. But it seems that we're very, very cool with, and some of his top advisors like Tom Barrack, are very cool with, where he said in his own grand jury testimony that the reason he's involved with Trump, or has been involved with Trump, was to benefit his business. The basic thing is, I think, and this is probably kind of sickening, but most of the stuff you hear about Israel or believe about Israel, namely that it's financially buying off politicians, it has tremendous financial power to control America, is grossly exaggerated. And almost all those claims are actually true of Qatar and other countries. When you add up the lobbying amounts, the dollar amounts that come from these countries, and the business that comes from these countries. Qatar's, Trump is bragging about this. Qatar's just made a commitment to invest $1 trillion in America.
And the plain Qatar is everywhere. With you all are being so distracted by APAC. Like, you're being because how many billions has Qatar put into this country? It's continuing.
Well, I mean,
like
again,
hundreds of billions.
Exactly, and more to come.
And influencing the business interests of our politicians are very much
our negotiators
in places, like Qatar.
Well, and can we say this? I mean, I again, not one to cast aspersions here, but isn't Donald Jr. involved in a $6 billion real estate investment in Qatar? I mean, I'm not saying that there's any, that would have any influence on Trump or the administration. Of course, I'd never think something like that. But one might, who's a little bit more, I don't know, jaded than I am, might think that it might have something to do with that, or that Tom Barrack, who's, again, very involved with Turkey and these other, and also a big, has said basically that Hezbollah is every bit as legitimate as the IDF.
And also a genocidal regime.
And a genocidal regime,
Turkey.
Yeah. Turkey, that is, yes, absolutely.
That is in NATO, and
it's in NATO, and we actually
vowed to protect.
We have an Article 5 duty to protect them from any adversaries.
And they genocide the Kurds.
They genocide the Kurds. Yes, they do.
This is all the things that are happening that I don't. Why don't we hear about any of this? Why do we not hear about the genocides and the mass starvation that is happening in Yemen, in Syria? Sure. Why do we not hear about any?
And where it's coming from?
And including like U.S. dollars being involved.
Of course, U.S. dollars are involved.
Right, and the foreign lobbying and influence and business interests that are entangled with that so that we look the other way. Why is the media why does the media not allow you to hear any of that, and only allows you to hear focus on one issue in the Middle East. And the one that is like, as tragic as it is, it's honestly nothing compared to the starvation and the killing and the massacres that are happening in all these other places we're talking about. And these aren't countries that
Absolutely.
were tiny countries that were brutally attacked and had babies beheaded and young women raped. And we don't hear any of this.
Not
We
a
get
thing.
just an obsessive, single-minded focus on one country
Right.
who's actually also defending itself.
Correct.
Nothing about any of this.
Right.
And it's a disease. It's an Israel derangement syndrome.
It's
and
been very, very effective.
tragic, and it's sad. And yes,
Can I enter in on this? Because
please.
that really is the essence. That is the guts and the essence of Vance's defense of this really indefensible deal. It really is to distract and just start to play on the Israel derangement, that Israel has this outsized power. Again, if Israel had this outsized power, this deal would never have happened. Believe it. Believe anybody with common sense would know that.
One should realize now, like the most dangerous regime, maybe in the planet,
Right
the
now.
biggest sponsor of terrorism, Iran, we have to bend over now because of the Strait of Hormuz, because of oil. So maybe get it through all of our heads
Well, not just and
that
not
those
just that.
who have actual power are those with oil.
Let's be more clear. I mean, again, we shut them off before. We did shut them off before. It was understood even prior to Obama that there was a cost to pay. I mean, obviously, when they're not able to sell oil, it's oil out of the market, prices go up, et cetera. It's whether we're willing to pay that cost for something that is worthwhile, including to prevent their ability to achieve nuclear power or nuclear weapons capacity, nuclear power, like they need it like a friggin' hole in the head. They're floating on oil. I mean, that might have been kind of a key giveaway. Like, why do you need nuclear power? Oh, we just don't have any energy. And also, it's also just straight up money. I mean, it's just the money and the influence in that area. Because again, there were options to open up the Strait of Hormuz. There were options to find other ways to get more oil to people. We didn't choose those. We chose to capitulate. We chose to appease and pay over big money.
And why? And then something Vance said also was like, we need to be sensitive to Muslim interests in the area, which is an interesting thing to say, because didn't you just say Lebanon was like, we don't want Hezbollah
Right,
here.
they're also Muslim. Many of them or Christian Arabs. Yes,
right.
They're both. They're not Persians. They're another country where the president is saying, why are they dictating our policy? Why are they in our country arming dangerous people who are killing our people? Why?
And we know there were parts of the Obama administration who actually stated they wanted to embolden Iran. They thought
it was a policy.
Yeah, it was a policy. It was like a balance against what?
Against Israel. It was to create a multipolar, what they thought would be a more stable system where
didn't quite work out.
It didn't quite work out that way. Where Israel's hegemonic power, would be balanced by Iran's power, and then you'd also have the Gulf states. You'd have this kind of three-headed beast that would create some form of stability. It was insane.
Yeah, obviously it did not, as if and as much as people think Israel is expansionist power, it's not. Iran is. Iran is in freaking Lebanon.
Well,
proxies are all over the place.
The proxies are everywhere, and it's a weird kind of expansionism because it's not creating Iran; it's just killing a lot of people.
Right.
It's the worst of all possible
worlds. So we're
like
wondering what in the hell is with Vance. Like what we've been on. Many people are very concerned because he has a big friendship with Tucker Carlson.
Deep friendship.
He's deep friendship.
Right.
Who is a very suspect. I think
not suspect is. I mean, I think his speech after Charlie Kirk's assassination, where he's saying that it's like the assassination of Jesus, where hummus eaters were gleeful. just in the same way now hummus eaters are gleeful. Now, I do like hummus, but the Jews had nothing to do with Charlie Kirk, and anyone who says
He
that
is
a blood
right.
libelist, like he is.
And, Vance is like, oh, these are all just Israel First people, and calling anti-Semitism everywhere.
Correct.
Well, if you listen to Tucker Carlson and people like him and their single-minded obsession
With
about Israel.
Which, by the way, Vance is sharing. Vance is not defending this deal. Almost all his alleged defense is criticizing anybody who points out any of the tremendous flaws with this deal as being somehow motivated by Israel and Israeli money.
Right. So it's like echoing a lot of Tucker Carlson.
Very much. It's not it's not just a guilt by association. There's an affinity.
Right. And that's been a very big fear regarding JD Vance for a while now.
Yeah, I think a justified one.
I know. So how much of his viewpoints does he really share with Tucker Carlson? Because Tucker Carlson is, and he brings on people who say that Winston Churchill was a real villain of World War II, not Hitler. I mean, there are just so many things. And for JD Vance to be like, you're just calling, crying wolf with anti-Semitism. Like,
there's a wolf.
Right. If he, like JD Vance, I want to say to him, if there's one Catholic country and they talked about was Catholica.
Correct.
And that Catholica was behind the killing of your friend.
Right.
And that
and child molestation and they control our military and our government and our banking institutions. It's all this.
And the person who genocided Catholics was not really the villain. Can you begin to understand why Jews are not being just crazy to this guy is dangerous. Tucker Carlson is dangerous, and he has an alliance with him, and with the way he's speaking over the past
the tropes
week,
he's using,
he's trying to be a little balanced, but it's too much. It's been a fear for a long time, and
very hard.
And how practical are you? Just deluded? I mean, we need people who have a realistic sense of what the Middle East is, what Iran is. So either you sound incredibly naive to just be like, yeah, we can trust them, or you sort of want to embolden them. Well, I think it's what in the hell is going on? Or like I say, they just, we need gas prices down, the midterms, let's get out.
I don't think, again,
things
it's not
didn't work out.
Right. Again, I don't think any of it's that simple because, that would be the most charitable. Again, you don't have to bash all your critics as Israel firsters if that were your motive.
Right.
You just, in fact, that's in his own gross way. That's what Trump is doing. It's like, we won. Gas prices are down. Stock prices are up. It's like, yeah, but you didn't achieve any of your objectives. Right. That's Trump. Vance is basically Jew baiting.
Right. And there were objectives achieved as far as really severely damaging their ballistic missiles
and their infrastructure,
which would have, if they got that produced more and more, would have been impossible to get their nuclear program.
Right.
And we severely damaged their nuclear program. And now with this wonderful
just undo it.
deal, it's going to completely undo it. So if those were in, American interests.
And they were.
Yes. For the death to America people, completely undoing this. And it is utterly baffling. It's actually, I wish. It's saddening.
Look.
It's pitiful.
I wish it were baffling. To me, I'm not baffled. I'm more, and that's what makes me so despondent. Because I actually do think that it's following a very discernible path and a very destructive and dangerous one.
Meaning
that I think that again, that Vance knows what he's doing and is doing it anyway. In other words, I think that he's aware that you can basically convince a decent number of people of a lot of things by just bringing up Jews and Jewish influence and not have to actually defend this. Is this going to be very beneficial to a lot of business interests? Is this going to be beneficial to a lot of business interests that are very much aligned and connected with the administration? Of course it will. And that seems to me Vance's agenda.
Right. It's like, okay, enough with like, oh, his deflection with like, well, the Israel first people. Defend this as being good for American interests. That's what's not happening.
It hasn't happened. And, you know, you can watch the Stuckney interview. It's like he doesn't go there. She's trying to push him, and he's like, well, yeah, you know.
Who's she?
That was Stuckney, the interview that you were talking.
Yeah.
She was trying to push him to acknowledge that there's a great problem with people who blame Israel for everything. And he said, well, while that's a problem, the big problem I have is the Israel first people. Okay. That's almost nobody.
Right.
I actually watch, I hate to say it, I watch Fox News, and the people who are attacking him on Fox News, and it's a lot of people like Brian, they're not bringing up Israel at all. They're just talking about what a crappy deal this is.
I mean, they're also bringing up a very practical thing regarding Israel, where they weren't signatories, they weren't part of the negotiation, but they have to back down to Hezbollah.
Well, that was Mark Levin is
like,
definitely bringing.
What if we have separate interests? We don't have interests of Israel. Well, that's not an interest of Israel to back down from being attacked. So shut the fuck up about it and leave them alone.
Well, again, this is also part of the deeper problem with the deal. It's not just telling Israel to be part of it, to follow, to abide by an agreement they're not party to, which isn't even an agreement. But also, again, what's the strategic interest of us in allowing Hezbollah to reign terror in Lebanon when the government of Lebanon is saying we don't want them here? It's not just about Israel. And again, much of the criticism, again, I watch Fox News. It's a great deal of it isn't Israel related. It's on all these other issues, including the long-term dangers, including the destabilization of the entire region, including the capacity to rebuild the ballistic missiles with the billions of dollars we're going to fund them with, when they're saying, when their leaders are saying in Farsi, but in translated English, we are going to actually use this money to send to Hezbollah. We're going to use it to send to the Houthis. We're going to do these things.
He doesn't care, though.
No, whatever. We should care. I don't give a fuck whether he cares.
But we should care about their rebuilding their
we should care we should care
as well.
America should
Number
care.
one.
America should care. And that's America's interest.
And also how, as far as an administration that loves to project strength,
allegedly.
And there is
that's certainly
importance to projecting
it's not an unimportant thing.
It actually really isn't an unimportant thing. How is this?
It's not.
This is like the opposite, and how that is good. How explain how that is good? For
it
America.
makes Neville Chamberlain look like Alexander the Great. It's outrageous.
Like it's yeah. So more on this, and as more comes to pass, it's very depressing. We hope it's like.
Oh, by the way,
another this bad, but it seems.
I want to say something.
This bad and this futile.
I think I brought this up also. I think in a clip before, but one of the also, because I guess it's not just the Daryl Coopers. He also put on Dave Smith, who also read Pat Buchanan, who also read David Irving.
Oh, you're talking about Tucker Carlson.
I'm talking about Tucker Carlson, and again, more of the the real villain was Winston Churchill, not Hitler, and that the war. And again, you can read The Gathering Storm. It's available in bookstores, fine bookstores everywhere. Anybody who reads the beginning of The Gathering Storm, and draws the conclusion that as Dave Smith has done, following, of course, a bad reading by Pat Buchanan, that it's really saying that that World War II was unnecessary, a war of choice, is a friggin' idiot.
Yeah, that's the Winston Churchill book. So the people, that's part of what's been very concerning about Vance, is being so associated with Tucker Carlson, who has a lot of, and his associates, Tucker Carlson's associates, having really a lot of roots in Pat Buchanan. and like, so we know
Paleo-
the anti-Semitism.
paleo anti-Semitism combined with a really, really weird kind of isolationism where we basically glorify our adversaries, because that's another thing that Carlson does. He goes to like Russian supermarkets and talks about how cheap the food is.
Right.
And again, somebody who doesn't know math, it's like, yeah, the food's half as expensive, but people here also make 1/4 of what they make in America, which means to them it's twice as expensive. But he's Tucker Carlson, and he's very stupid.
Yeah, it's a very horseshoe with the far left.
Yeah.
And so I'm not even quite sure politically how this is going to work out for Vance.
I think it's going to work out very poorly.
Okay,
Thank
so
God.
we'll, get the kind of groper young guys who kind of obsessed with Israel
Hate Israel a lot.
and maybe and also a little anti-American.
Quite
and
anti-American.
like that could be very appealing to the far left, this part of it, but is really the left going to be going with JD Vance and like the anti-abortion?
I don't think
like,
so.
This is just foolish. Like
Right.
you're not distinguishing yourself. Like what is, and it's like a real rift
Yeah.
in the Republican movement. And it's
Sure.
not just the Jewish people.
Not at all.
It is like, Ted Cruz, like people, traditional
Most importantly,
Republicans.
what most importantly would be the evangelical Christians who Tucker Carlson has said are the people he hates the most. He calls them Christian Zionists, and he says he hates them more than anybody.
Yeah, this is an enormous rift in the Republican coalition, even though foolishly, like, people say like Nick Fuentes is far right. Nick Fuentes, who's like a crazy man,
Sure.
anti-Semitic, anti-racist. He's actually declared himself to be a Democrat because he relates so much with like the far left.
And let's not just talk about declaring. Let's talk about what he actually did. He was campaigning for Biden last time, and he said he's going to do the same thing. He wants Republicans to lose. Again, he's often classed by people who seem to not ever have heard him as if he's some fringe version of a Republican, which is not true. He's a fringe crazy person, but he's also very much aligned with Tucker Carlson in terms of his viewpoints.
Yeah. So what you have happening, and it's called like the woke right is one of the names, or the gropers. And
I like
this
gropers,
like
but woke right is
the
common term.
isolationists.
James Lindsay is a theorist.
Utterly Israel, Jew obsessed, part of the right.
Right.
And you have other parts of the right. There is a complete schism happening now.
Correct.
JD Vance seems to be convinced he can bridge these things. And it's really funny because like months ago, like as this was all brewing,
Sure.
He was like, okay, we got to stop the infighting. There's circular
firing squad.
And I'm just thinking to myself, like,
what circular?
Okay, what in? Like, how are you going to bring together like Jews
and the people who want to kill them
and Jew haters, or the people who like really don't
Cheer
want to
them.
hate Jews and the utter Jew haters?
They don't
like
really belong.
This is not a circle. This is not a shape. There's no connecting points. It just is the craziness of these parties trying to keep these coalitions that should never be together.
Right.
Together, and JD Vance is somehow thinks he's going to be able to keep like, I'll be able to bridge this thing, and you're not. It's like this is, how is that bridgeable?
I mean, to be honest, that makes me a little happy that he's actually too stupid to be to accomplish all the evil he wants to accomplish.
I don't know what's going to happen, and so
I don't know either. But he's very
crazy.
But it is a crazy tent,
supposed tent,
alleged tent, call it
alleged
tent.
In circle of the Republicans.
Right.
One aspect following.
By the way, some of the people include. I mean, to bring up this is. I don't want to give anyone any homework, but you can look her up. She's crazy. Her name is Candace Owens. This is somebody that not only thinks that Jews killed Charlie Kirk, but that Charlie Kirk's own wife killed Charlie Kirk, and that Trump might even be trying to kill Charlie Kirk. How is saying she's a crazy person a circular firing squad?
Oh, exactly.
This is somebody
also,
you don't want to be
the
associated
same
with.
people, including Tucker Carlson or Megyn Kelly now, who's had the transformation, who have gone like anti-Trump too. And
Absolutely.
like, I don't know what you I don't even say good luck. I hope it like goes
Bad
up
luck.
in flames.
Yeah, I want them all to
ridiculous.
lose.
Like, let's stop the infighting.
What infighting?
Of our group.
Right.
That's like those people should never be in the same room together ever.
It's a murder mystery. Of
And then it reminds me also, because if we go to the other side,
sure,
one of my favorite quotes not too long ago is from Gavin Newsom.
I remember that.
And he said, talking about the tents,
the big
these
tents,
crazy tents. He said, well, I want us to be the Mansion to Mamdani party. And I'm like, okay, that sounds like a murder mystery party. That sounds like, what is that? Is that Clue? Is that like, AOC stabbed Fetterman in the library with a candlestick?
I think it was Colonel Mustard.
I don't know if you could stab someone in the candle.
You could smash them in the head. I think it was a knife.
She was just maybe she carved it.
She carved it.
She's very diligent.
She's very diligent with her. Yeah.
But it's like, this was, I mean, this isn't, first of all, it's so crazy. That's so not a coalition because Manchin isn't even a Democrat anymore.
Right.
But like, what the hell is that? Manchin to Mamdani party? It's like from, our party, from Hezbollah to Israel, from Adam Smith to Karl Marx.
Right. From Hezbollah to AIPAC.
from Shirley Temple to the Manson family.
Right.
Like, what in the hell is that? And it's like, so that coalition, it's like, okay, those are the same people. Okay, you want to uphold the system. They both, this party, reform the system and burn the system to pieces.
Right.
Our
party.
We want to, uphold and capitalism, make it workable, support business and make it fair. And we want to utterly destroy capitalism.
Yeah, we want.
That's not a tent.
It's
and if it were a tent, there'd be
it'd be bloody.
It would be like blood gushing out of that tent.
Yes, it'd be a bloody tent.
I don't want to be anywhere in that tent. It sounds very dangerous.
Yeah, I mean,
people should not be anywhere near each other.
I'm not saying that you have to be like rigid or you have to be doctrinaire or orthodox, but being part of a party should mean something.
Like, what does that mean? That's not a party. If it's everything, it's nothing. And like, but we want a big tent. I didn't know a tent could be the size of the universe.
Right. But we want like we want serial killers. They have their own point of view. We want everybody.
And these tents, like these parties, wind up with these disparate people because they have horrible choices of these two things.
Absolutely.
But sometimes they wackily wind up together. But that doesn't mean they're like really are together as a coalition here.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, can you imagine? Like,
by the way,
a freaking carnival.
It is.
It's like the tent is a freaking like crazy carnival.
Unfortunately, and I don't want to be super depressing, and I don't think it's going to work, but that is part of the horseshoe. There seems to be one thing, and I don't know why. There seems to be one thing that a bunch of really crazy people can agree on, and as long as you can focus their attention on that one thing, they sort of like kind of move together, and it involves something that rhymes with schmanti-schmemitism.
Which,
or schmoomate. AIPAC.
Which should be like in, a congressional district in New York, the number one issue. I mean, I'm sure you should agree. That's the number one thing I get texted about.
And this is, by the way, is Brad Lander versus Goldman. And again, Goldman is a perfectly respectable Democrat who, very anti-Trump, but he just doesn't hate Israel quite enough.
Right. And so, who I'm voting for. But it's not going to win. But
not going to win
because AIPAC. Oh my God! They just a Pavlovian response. Meanwhile, and we laid out how much money is coming from horrible regimes.
Yeah, but, that was just got it. We didn't even get into all the other regimes, including the business relationships with Turkey, etc.
And it's
or Al Jazeera, which is again, this massive. PSYOP that basically is funded by Qatar, which is again billions of dollars to funnel these ideas into our brains.
Right. And they're It's, oh my God. I don't even, so I don't know if I love everything. I like its basic mission, and it's but for Americans.
It's only American.
It's an American organization that supports Israel.
Right.
And didn't care. So maybe I don't even agree with all of their tactics, but every time you know what it's gotten me to do?
Donate?
Yes. And anytime anyone, this doesn't matter because I don't really matter. Most people, this works as a Pavlovian response, and they like,
well,
if you try to do it with me, I'm going to have my phone out and say, every time you say Jewish lobby or APAC, I'm donating $10.
Right.
And all of it. And like, just do it. But there it goes again. Try it again. Just say it again.
Yeah. I just have a desire to purchase discount insurance. Maybe, I don't know why.
Okay, we have. Okay, I want to quickly say what.
I just do one more thing because it's hot.
Oh yeah, okay.
One more thing, but I think it should be more up your specific alley with a comedian who's been.
Oh yeah, but it's for we both have things to talk about.
Okay, but I want you.
All right. Well, okay. Just this week, Nate Bargatze. I think I'm saying this right. I'm like, follow comedy. I don't even have. Nate Bargatze got into. He was dumped on like crazy for showing up at the UFC, I guess, event at the White House.
Right.
And okay. Number one, okay, he may be a UFC fan. Every male comic, straight comic I know is. Mm-hmm. And he may be a Republican.
It's possible.
And you know what? So the freak what? And what was so awful? I mean, I used to say shitty things about Republicans all the time until like I realized maybe this isn't so nice. And number two, I'm now shit on all the time for being to the right of the Democratic Socialists of America. Right. So I'm like demonized too. So, I mean, I'm starting to feel, so I'm not really in the mood to demonize other people. And you know what? Guess what? Those who are like, I'm morally outraged by Nate Bargatze for support, maybe being conservative. Like, one, people may be outraged about some of your opinions. Right. Like, for instance, the people I know love as humans, and I completely disagree with a few of them. I mean, enormously disagree. Actually, really disapprove of. And so it may be you too. And I think what's so disturbing is everyone taking this moral stance of the ones going off of it. I can't believe I'm so outraged. They think they look like the moral people. Right. And they're everything but. It is not human way to, because everything about Nate Bargatze, what maybe I've met him before years and years and years ago. Everything I've heard is he's a completely nice man, which should be the number one important thing about somebody. Sure. It should be. He's not actually political. He does something really difficult, which is avoids politics. He's even a clean comedian, which is really difficult. Right. He's very talented. Every report is that he's a nice man. Right. And this thing of like, he may be conservative, that everyone got signaling to all your friends, oh, this is awful, I hate him, as if that makes you look good. And let me tell you, I think it does not make you look
I think it makes you look like this is Salem, Massachusetts, and you're one of those people in a pilgrim hat that's going after the witches. That's what it friggin' looks like to me. Right. You're going after. He's Hester Prynne, and you're marking him for shame.
Oh yes,
that's like, what you look like.
It's freaking Shirley Jackson lottery.
The lottery style.
It's disgusting.
It's gross.
And as we go through life, you may not like someone's politics.
Fine.
Or some things about. We don't even know what his opinions. We don't even know if he's only conservative. We don't even know. Right. But right. You don't even know all of this.
But he's so stupid.
But what I have learned is that with some people's, unless they're so horrible and so extreme and so, racist, it's inexcusable.
That's right.
Regarding honestly have learned regarding people's political affiliations, you really can't tell much about how they are as
Mostly
human.
not. No.
You really can't. And I know you think like, oh, that makes a good person, this makes a bad person, but it doesn't really work like it doesn't. That's what I've learned. It doesn't. And I'm glad I've gotten there's certain people I still kind of, if I, there are, exceptions to people.
We're not talking about people that are just like Democrats or Republicans. You're talking about somebody, for example, who's cheering on like, cross-burning or the Klan or Tucker Carlson. Yeah.
Right. But okay. And the other thing, I think even more importantly that I want to say about this, because one of the things I read on Facebook was like, we should have known Nate Bargatze.
You should have.
He's a Republican or his politics are bad because he's stupid. And my thinking about this is like, okay,
sure,
we are not unique. We are all not unique mostly, and our politics points of view are very much dictated by where we come from geographically, what school we went to, who our peer group is, what information sphere we are. You are not so unique that you can be able to tell just from a background of some description what somebody is.
Probably with a very high degree of certainty.
With decent certainty, really good certainty.
You give me 4 or 5 matrix. Give me gender. Give me race. Give me geography. I'll be able to tell you probably with 90% certainty how that person votes, and that's just how we are.
That's how we are, and it's gotten much more that way, specifically geographically.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you ever look at a map Hilary's obsessive about this, but if you look at like districts, you can it looks like jigsaw puzzles. It's that level.
Or not, or all red and certain.
Well, no. In some places, like I'm saying, I mean, it's literally like you see some all red, and then when you look at the dividing line, it can be very, very clear.
Yeah. So what I'm trying. Okay, so years ago, didn't know much about Nate. I knew he is from Tennessee.
Yeah.
I thought I knew he moved back to Tennessee. I knew he liked country music.
Sure.
And
Christian home.
I didn't even know that.
You didn't even know that.
I didn't even know that.
Right.
That's all I knew.
Sure.
And it had not with judgment, just as sort of information
information and inference.
And just was interesting. I was like, oh, I bet Nate Bargatze is a conservative,
probably,
or leans conservative.
Probably.
I would bet probably $10,000 on it, only because of where he's from, where he lives, his white man. But actually, I also think I think black men in Tennessee may also be conservative, but just vote Democratic. But just from those little facts and knowing how demographics works. So this guy who is like Nate is dumb. No, I don't think it's Nate Bargatze who's dumb. You are dumb. And it is this is so rudimentary.
If you're not getting this, maybe you shouldn't be calling people dumb.
You should not be calling people dumb because you have
this is a surprise.
This is so below elementary things to know about. You clearly, do you know anything about demographics? You don't know anything about demographics. Have you ever seen a political poll? Have you ever seen a map of political results? Have you ever been to America?
Right. Have you?
I do. That's the biggest surprise. Right. You are shocked. You don't understand. Are you even in this world? Are you even interacting in this world or have any knowledge about how demographics and geography are so interlinked with maybe how you identify politically? If he's even conservative, we still don't even know. But there's a good likelihood.
We would bet. I would bet it. And again,
he's a nice guy and great comic.
He's a great comic. He's a nice guy. And again, give me 5-1 odds. I'd bet he's conservative, but so the fuck what? It would be a great way for me to make money.
Right. And I'm just shocked that everyone, I knew this years ago. I think it was very obvious.
The likelihood was very obvious.
The likelihood was very obvious.
Clear.
And so everyone, oh my God, Oh my God, you.
Yes, yes. So I think that as hard as it's been to maintain sanity, I think we've done our best.
We've done our best.
We've done our
and
best to be moderately sane.
Oh my God, we need to get.
And we're looking forward to
topic.
seeing you again. Yeah, we've done this topic. So next episode of Moderately Sane, we'll have more bangers and more insanity that we're trying to react to in a way that at least we try to, at least we try to respond to in a moderate way. We may or may not succeed, but that's certainly our goal, to be moderately sane. Be well.